Hello and welcome to Your New Jersey. I'm Marie Falbo. On today's show, we're celebrating the people, places, and stories that help define the American spirit right here in the Garden State. From preserving an important chapter in baseball and civil rights history in Paterson, to reflecting on the enduring legacy of one of America's most iconic families through John F. Kennedy Jr.'s ties to our region. Few public figures have remained as fascinating as John F. Kennedy Jr. More than 2 decades after his untimely passing, people are still drawn to the story behind the name. Joining us now is RoseMarie Terenzio, who worked closely with him for years and knew the man behind the headlines. She's here to share personal insight into his life, legacy, and why his connection to this region, including New Jersey, still resonates today. RoseMarie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
I am just thrilled that you took the journey across the river here to our little abode in Nutley. You know, I've been fascinated by JFK Jr. since I was a teenager. I was obsessed with the New York Post because I was a big Yankee fan.
I was too.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So on the back cover was Derek Jeter.
Yes.
And on the front cover were these two
Yep.
individuals right there. And with Love Story on FX, just renewing all of that fascination, I wanted to have you in here to talk about JFK Jr. and Carolyn and their ties to New Jersey, because there were a lot.
Yeah, there were. The airport where he took flying lessons out of, there was, his family's place in New Jersey, his mom's place in New Jersey where she rode horses. So they did have a connection here.
Before we get to the airport,
Yeah.
because that's a whole, thing in and of itself, talk about how you two connected.
So I was working for his partner, George. Before they started George, I was working for Michael Berman in PR. He had his own PR firm. It's like a boutique firm in Manhattan, right in the middle of Flatiron. And then John started coming around. And I knew they knew each other because they were on the board of a charity together. But I didn't really know why he was coming around to the office more frequently than usual. And the next thing I knew, they were starting George magazine. And he took over my office. I didn't know what was happening, and I was just really annoyed. So I came in and I was sort of like, why do you need an office? You don't even have a job. We didn't get off on the right foot. But then we sort of started to joke with each other back and forth, and we laughed a lot. We enjoyed each other's sense of humor, and I think that's what bonded us, was our sense of humor.
You seemed very not caring about his celebrity, his stature, and he probably liked that.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I didn't, because he wasn't really my type of guy back then in my 20s.
You were like the only one, I guess, that could say that. I think he was at the top of everybody's list back then.
It wasn't really mine. I also grew up in a moderate Republican family, Reagan Republican family, so they weren't really gushy over the Kennedys. But as I got to know him, I understood why. It wasn't just the looks. He was just an amazing guy and really charming, and had the best manners of anyone I've ever met. For
your sake, I'm so happy social media and texting wasn't a thing, because could you imagine being his assistant now?
No, I can't, because I miss the not instant news every few minutes.
Yeah.
I miss that time sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why young people are so interested in that time, because they're thinking like, wow, that must have been great. You just go out to dinner, you don't have a phone, you're not checking texts and emails and social media accounts. So
it was a time. I mean,
it was a time, yeah.
I'm an elder millennial, so I have a hand in both.
Oh, that's great.
So I remember.
Oh, so you remember before and after.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember being able to go on vacation and the island not having cell phone service.
Yeah, you don't have service.
And it was a true
Wi-Fi,
vacation.
forget it. Even in the beginning, in the early 2000s, not every place had Wi-Fi. You couldn't just log on at a hotel and get on Wi-Fi. You had to go to an internet cafe.
Yeah. You had a front row seat to everything, but obviously his relationship with Carolyn.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
John and Carolyn were best buddies. I mean, they were in love and they loved each other, but they were also friends. They would gossip and giggle and laugh at events and on the side, and I think they really trusted each other, not just in terms of fidelity or anything like that, but I think they trusted each other's judgment. And I think they both felt that they each had each other's best interest at heart. And that was really important, especially for John, you know, being as famous as he was. And I think he knew Carolyn had his back.
And you had their back.
Yeah, I tried.
Right? I mean, because was she as shy with the whole media frenzy then?
No, I think that's hyperbole. I mean, I think, yeah, it was tough in the beginning, right? You know, it's funny because after they got married, I think the perception that we all had was, oh, well, the whole sexiest man alive, JFK Jr., most eligible bachelor, you know, it's going to kind of die down because now he's married. And I think I even made a joke when they got back from their honeymoon. I'm like, you're like an old married man now, no one cares. And it intensified even more. I think it had some to do with the anticipation of who it was going to be that JFK Jr. was going to marry. And when he finally got married, and he did it in secret, it was like, who the heck is this? And where did she come from? Now we want to know everything about the woman who married our Prince Charming and escalated after they got married.
Is it true that you helped plan the top secret wedding?
I did help, yeah, but Carolyn, it was very DIY. Carolyn did a lot of it herself. She really was hands-on. She had a group of friends and family and people who we all kind of chipped in. And I remember printing the programs on the printer at the George office at like 10 o'clock at night. And the paper was too thick because we couldn't send it to a printer because if anybody saw it, it would get out. And the paper was too thick and wouldn't go through the printer. Oh, so we had to come back the next day, get new paper, and start all over again. And I remember getting up at I think it was like 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and getting in a cab and running back to the office because I was so terrified that I left something in the printer.
Oh. Yeah, well, back then that would have went for
millions.
Went
crazy, yeah. It would have gone insane, yeah.
Do you think that if they happened 10 years later with the advent of social media and just more ways to be accessible, would the frenzy around them have been more or less?
You know, I think it would have depended on how they engaged. I think for John, it would have been like a toy for like 3 months, and then he'd be like, I'm bored, I can't do this anymore, this is too much, and he would have forgotten about it. But I think it would have been different because you have a device in your hand that's a camera. It would have been difficult to juggle, but like we've all become accustomed to it, I'm sure they would have adapted.
Yeah, and George magazine would have adapted too.
Yeah, and that was the plan. I mean, there were already talks in the works to bring George online and also for a George TV show.
Speaking of TV show, Love Story, I know you said you've like barely watched one episode.
Yeah, I watched some of the first episode, but I've seen clips online, but I didn't watch it, and I just don't think I could be objective about it because I was there, yeah.
No. There was a scene that was lifted from real life, the George introductory press conference.
Yes.
Before he started, just gave one-liners to all the different rumors and stories. And he ended it in the show and in real life by saying,
maybe someday, but not in New Jersey. Yes.
What did that mean?
So I think that because of his ties to like his mom, they had the farm in Peapack, horseback riding and all of that. But also I think at one point there was a seat open in New Jersey, and he might have been approached about it, and he was like, no, if I'm going to run in New York.
That's funny. All right. Well, the New Yorkers, they like to look down on Jersey until they're here.
Until you experience it,
Exactly.
And then you're like, wait, this is awesome.
Yeah, well, you're in Belmar now for the summers, which is amazing.
It's amazing.
Right?
Yes.
And then I told you off camera, my husband is a New Yorker like you and can't get him out of you now. Do you think if he were alive, he would have become president?
There was talk about if and when he did go into politics, he would run for governor, and I think he would have won. That was one thing, and I think Carolyn would have loved campaigning. Loved
really?
It. Oh my gosh, she would have been in her glory, meeting like babies and old ladies and talking to people at a diner and going to small towns. She would have been in her glory.
See, the show makes it like she wanted to crawl in a hole.
Oh God, no. She would have loved every minute of it.
Wow.
And it would have been like, oh, you're not going to believe who I'm having dinner with tonight. I invited her to New York, and she's coming, and it would probably be some older woman and her daughter who are now coming to New York to spend the day with Carolyn. That was Carolyn.
Wow. You see his nephew now is running
Yes,
for Congress,
I see.
Jack.
Yes.
There is a resemblance. Like when I see him, I guess it's the hair.
Yeah, I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
And like the stature and everything, it's incredible.
John's hair was, everybody talks about how beautiful his hair was, and and he wore hats all the time, and he wore hats because he was always trying to push his hair down because he always felt like it was too poofy. So he would put Kiel silkroom in his hair and then put one of his hats on and walk around with it in the office.
That's so funny. Let's talk about the other big connection he has to New Jersey, his flying lessons.
Yeah.
I told you the day it happened, we heard the news on our radio. We were on Ortley Beach, my family and I. You could hear a pin drop on the beach. Everyone was so devastated, every generation. I mean, that was one of the saddest pop culture moments, I think, in American history. But we were shocked to learn that he flew out of Essex County Airport, which is like 5 miles from here in Fairfield, New Jersey, where a lot of my family resides. So talk to us about his flying lessons and why Fairfield.
I think it was because it was so accessible. And John was also someone, when he got to know people and got comfortable with them, he liked to stick with it. And flying in and out of Essex County for him and for his plane was a lot easier than trying to fly out of an airport,
Like a Teterboro.
Yeah. Sometimes Teterboro, but Essex County was closer, I think.
So that day, July of 1999, where were you when you heard the news?
I was staying in his apartment the night before because my air conditioner broke in my apartment in the city, and he said, why don't you just stay at our place, because we're not going to be here for the weekend until they come on Monday and fix your air conditioner. It was so hot that day. It was about 96 degrees or something.
And he went to a Yankee game
really
that night,
humid.
right?
And he went to a Yankee game that night. And I was on the phone with Matt Berman, the creative director at George, when I got home that night, who was planning to fly out the next morning to shoot Rob Lowe for the next cover. And we were just talking about, the trip and what he was going to do and all of that. And the fax line started ringing, and I thought it was them because not many people had that number. And it turned out it wasn't. I got this call. It was Carol Radziwill saying, thank God you're there. And she thought it was Carolyn. And I said, Carol, it's Rose. What's going on? She said, where are they? I was like, what do you mean, where are they? They're in Hyannis. She said, no, they never got there. And a good friend of his, Dan Sampson, was picking them up at the airport, and he was waiting and waiting and waiting, and they never showed up. So they assumed he had gone to the Vineyard first. They assumed he had gone to Hyannis first, the Vineyard folks, and it was just back and forth for hours and hours. And phone ringing off the hook, media started to get wind of it because the Coast Guard got involved, and it was just an absolute terrifying frenzy.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. It was really tough, really hard, and scary, just scary. Because I was by myself in the apartment, and
their apartment.
Wow. It was really intense.
In the days, months, years, how did you recover from that?
I'll be honest, I didn't realize back then, but it took a really long time. And I don't think that you actually recover. There's a little bit of you that always has that pull that I have to resist sometimes of what if. What if for them and what if for me? So that can be really hard. And I don't know if that ever goes away.
How did life transpire for you afterwards?
I stayed on to help Caroline, sort of close things out. And then I took a little bit of time off, and then I started taking freelance jobs because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and started getting folks who were saying, do you still do PR? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And I started a business out of it, and I did that for about 6 years. And then I went in-house at a firm. I think I'd be building a presidential library right now.
Seriously, fundraising
in
and
New York,
all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Talk to us about the book.
This was an absolute labor of love. It started as a seed of an idea when I was talking to an intern in my office. Someone said, oh, Rose used to work for JFK Jr. And she said, oh, is he the president? And I'm like, oh, no, no, no. And I started to think, like, young people don't even know who he is anymore. They won't ever know who he was or why he was significant. And it bothered me. I felt like there were so many people who had such great stories, who were really close to him and knew him really well. And I felt like enough time had passed that it would feel like a celebration rather than mourning. And so I called my friend Liz McNeil from People magazine, and I said, do you want to do this book with me? And she was like, okay. And there we went. We did over 250 interviews.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was an amazing experience.
That had to have been very healing.
It was great. I mean, it was healing, but it was also reconnecting with all those folks that I would talk to all the time and his friends. And it feels, this book to me feels like all of his friends getting together and some family members and people who knew him really well and just sitting around and talking about him. And it just felt right.
Well, I'm so happy you got to have that experience.
Thank you.
That was maybe what you needed to wrap
Thank
the
you
bow
so much.
on your healing. Well, this was amazing. I
Thank
had
you.
such a good time.
Me too. Thank you so
I just
much.
wish we were coming together while they were alive
I
and
know.
thriving.
Me too.
I know.
Thank you
In
so
another
much.
life, right?
This was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. New Jersey is full of places where history still speaks to the present. And in Paterson, one landmark is doing exactly that. Joining us now is Cesar Negroni, Education Coordinator at the Muth Museum of Hinchliffe Stadium. Located beside Hinchliffe Stadium, one of the last surviving Negro League ballparks, the museum is preserving an important chapter of sports and civil rights history while creating new opportunities for the community today. Cesar, it's so great to have you on here.
And thank you so much for having me. This is great. I didn't think I would get this opportunity, so thank you.
Well, you know, Montclair State grads, like the both of us are, they have a front row seat to your New Jersey.
Of course, yeah, 100%, as it should be. I mean,
Right?
It's such a great place to kind of foster your own growth and your own intelligence and pursue what you're most passionate about.
They absolutely do the best job at that, and they even provide jobs because you have been part of the Montclair State universe for years now, thanks to this project.
Yes, I was a transfer student, majored in English and minored in film. I took a bit of a gap year after graduating with my bachelor's, ended up working at the Yogi Berra Museum and Learning Center for 4 years. All of that combined with the master's kind of led to my current role. It's been great. I've been there almost 10 years and I love it. I also adjunct there as well, so I'm always involved in the bubble in some way, shape, or form.
Talk to us what's going on in Paterson.
Hinchliffe Stadium, it's its third year that it's been revived. The museum, we just turned 2. And really, the main focus is kind of reviving the story of the stadium itself. For those who don't know, it opened in 1932, named after Mayor John Hinchliffe. It closed down in 1996, and there was a near 30-year gap where the stadium just wasn't open or properly operating. So right now, after 3 years, we currently have the New Jersey Jackals, a Frontier League baseball team. We have the Jersey Shore Wave, which is a women's tackle football team. We have the New York Cosmos, who have been revived in the USL League One. That's what's really going on in the stadium. And for my role, I coordinate all of our field trips so that kids from all over New Jersey can come see the stadium, because it's a story that's been forgotten by a lot of people, right? It's almost like the evidence kind of went away along with those stories. So we're trying to bring those stories back and revive them and teach a whole new generation of kids the importance of it.
Why is it so important, both here in New Jersey and internationally?
Right, so it's one of the last 5 Negro League ballparks. The thing about integration in Major League Baseball is it really did shape what baseball is today. Now you have so many international players, and that really started with the athletes who competed at the stadium, icons and legends. A lot of their careers, they played at the stadium in the beginning of them. So for me, the stadium kind of serves as the overall foundation of integration in Major League Baseball. Now, whenever a person comes, they have a memory from the field that either they went to school there or they competed against a team there. It's so relatable to the world we live in now. where you understand the importance of representation and you understand the importance of having a place to go to in your community, but you also have a place that you want people from other communities to visit.
How are you and your team making this a destination for this education?
Right. So for my education programs, I do have curriculum from K through 12. My K through 3 program is where the kids do a nice scavenger hunt and they learn about the athletes that competed at the field. My 4 through 6 program is a very Negro League baseball centric program where we have hanging banners all throughout the space of every Hall of Famer that's either played or made an appearance at the stadium. You learn the story of those players. And my 9 through 12 program, we work with primary sources to kind of go over how sports were covered during segregation. We talk about all the ins and outs of that. We try to get them to understand, is this newspaper, is it a white-owned newspaper or is it an African-American-owned paper? What kind of paper is this article from? And it covers all the various aspects of segregation.
You're not going to get this education anywhere else. What I also love about the revitalization of the stadium is what it's doing to the greater Paterson community,
Yes.
because now it's turning Paterson into a destination where restaurants are opening and people are enjoying the city for what it is.
When you lack the destination spot for Paterson, people weren't coming to Paterson as much, or they didn't even know that the stadium was there. We have the Great Falls right next door to the stadium itself. It's so great to see people in the stadium, so working there and seeing the culmination of nearly 30 years of hard work. It's been a very rewarding experience.
Well, we spoke about Montclair State and President Jonathan Coppell.
Yes.
He's been a guest on this program and he's doing wonderful things for the university, and this is something that he was very passionate about seeing through.
Yes. Absolutely. He is someone who has backed this endeavor all the way. In my opinion, he's one of the focal points of how we were able to have this place. And I also got to talk about Charles Muth as well, because the museum's named after him. He donated $5 million to Montclair State University as a gift to open this museum. And President Coppell was a very major component in making sure that that gift went to the right place in opening the space. So
That is
I've
very
always
generous.
been, yeah.
Who is Charlie Muth?
Charlie Muth, Chuck Muth as I call him, he's from Paterson. And he went to School 5, which is right across the street from the stadium. And he is someone who had so many memories as a kid growing up, going to the stadium for football events, for races, and things of that nature. He's very much one of those people that has dedicated himself to giving back to the city that raised him.
Oh, that's
So,
wonderful.
you know, I have to acknowledge that for a fact. He's been wonderful as well.
It's good that you have so many people rallying around
Absolutely.
this cause, but you see it's paying dividends. In
Yeah.
the couple years it's been reopened.
Yeah, you know, and I still say we're kind of in chapter 1 or 2 of that story, because the museum's only 2 years old, as I just mentioned. We're at the beginning stages of everything. I feel like this is the Cosmos' first season being back. This is the Jersey Shore Waves' second season. The Jackals have been around forever, but you know they this is their 4th season, I believe, at the stadium. And yeah, like you said, I do have a wonderful group of people that I get to collaborate with that are very passionate about the stadium. Many of the people I work with are from Paterson, and they were dismayed by the fact that the stadium's not there. So I get to work with Montclair State. I get to work with the Cosmos. I get to work with the Wave, just not as often. I work with the Jackals. I work with the Yogi Berra Museum and Learning Center, which is also at Montclair State. So many organizations have been able to rally around this cause, and I have an amazing team at the museum as well, that they all feel the same way. They look at they want to take what they do here and build something really beautiful.
They are
Because they
certainly
understand
doing
it.
that.
Yeah.
They are certainly building something beautiful, and what a place for the community to turn to see themselves.
Yeah, so there's such a personable background for everybody with that stadium, and it happened right outside, which it's been the most gratifying part, is learning those stories as well.
Well, they are so lucky to have you, someone that is so deeply passionate to everything that's happening there. Thank you for coming here and giving us your time today.
Yeah, of course. One of the perks of this job is being able to be an ambassador for the place, right? I want people to understand its importance. My role as education coordinator lets me reach out to every school in New Jersey to just get them to come, right? Have a good field trip with your kids. Let them learn something that they probably don't know. We're going to be seeing close to 3,000 students this year by the end of the school year. So yeah, it's been very gratifying for sure.
Well, where can people watching get in touch with you, learn more about the museum, and to schedule a visit?
Yeah, so the muthmuseum.org is the name of our site. You can find us, and we also have a virtual exhibit about the Paterson silk strikes that we just released as well.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It was nice to be here, for sure.
It was very nice to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of Your New Jersey. I'm Marie Falbo. We'll see you back here next week.